I've had that poster since 2017. I am obsessed with Deltarune and Undertale. I love a theory video. I love those 4-hour iceberg videos. I have been thinking about it nonstop. I can't stop thinking about Deltarune. I'm currently on my 3rd playthrough for the Snowgrave weird route. Pray for me. Pray for Noel. Chapter 5 is scheduled to come out in 2026. I thought it might be fun to kind of just like summarize my thoughts and like lock in my predictions. And they're gonna get weird. I'm not going to go through like a breakdown of why I think everything. This isn't like a super strict analysis of every little piece of code. I'm mostly just pulling from lots of videos I've been watching, what I agree with. I will link all of my favorite videos of why I think the way that I do in the description. Alright, let's start easy. Death's Knight, 100%, no doubt in my mind, Death is the knight, and that I know with certainty. Always bet on Papyrus Knight, except when Death's Knight is an option. Death's Knight is definitely the case. Again, I'm not going to go over like all the reasons why I think Death is the knight. All I will say is the nail in the coffin for me was during the ending boss fight of chapter 4. She obviously raises her bat and it turns into a sword, and I was like, alright, well that's that. Next prediction, Rudy is the knight. I would be fine if Des was like a red herring. I'm gonna put it in the maybe, just so it's up there. Rudy is the knight. Maybe he's the knight, I don't know, just throw it in there. I don't think it's Carol. I just don't think it's Carol, just because of the attitude, so I'm not even gonna put that up here. 2 favorite options is Des is the knight or Rudy is the knight. All the way back in chapter 2, I was a Kris killed Asriel believer. I thought that was 100% fact just because of how weird Kris is, but now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I don't really think that would be the end of the story. I'm gonna put this in the probably not category. I'm really convinced that due to the knowledge that dust on objects seems to cause weirdness in the Undertale Deltarune universe, I was kind of unsure about that. But that kind of leads me into my next one. Rudy dies. So I think that the fact that they introduced in chapter 4 that objects can kind of reincarnate a monster in the Dark World, it's gonna happen to somebody. I think it's gonna be Rudy, and I think there's gonna be a lot of conflict about that. So I'm gonna put that in fact. Fact, Rudy is going to die. I'm locking that in. Ralsei is the horns that Kris used to wear as a child. That one's easy. That's fact. That's not going to be a switcheroo. Some people say like, oh, maybe he's like a stuffed animal or maybe he's whatever, but I think he's horns. Multiple endings, or will there be multiple endings? I'm saying yes, there absolutely is multiple endings. Toby Fox in like a tweet or whatever said multiple endings, question mark, and it made everybody like take it as in no, there's not, but I disagree. Another one I am 100% convinced of. Kris/theory. Kris cut down Susie and Ralsei in the night fight. It was coined by a dude on YouTube. I will link his channel. It was great. I 100% agree with that. That is 100% fact. It is going to cause some conflict. The one, I think this has been like all but confirmed. People seem to think chapter 5 is going to take place where the Dark World is going to be Asgore's flower shop. I think I agree with that one. It's kind of foreshadowed in the secret boss fight with Gerson, so I'm gonna put that in true. I'm making this up. Chapters 6 and 7 are going to be both in the bunker, so it'll be like kind of like a 2-parter where it's just like a bigger overall like resolution to everything. So I think it will be in the bunker. Elaborating a little bit more about that, I think that the overall themes that people have been picking up, that the Dark Worlds represent escapism with school, TV, video games, the library, books, and then potentially like work at Asgore's flower shop, and then the bunker being like the finale in that it's like, well, what if it like consumes you, or like your imagination consumes you? I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Asriel comes home in chapter 7. I wrote down Asriel finale cameo. I think that is fact. I think that he's not dead. I don't think he's dead anymore. I think he's definitely gonna come back, reminiscent of when he shows up in Undertale at the very end of the game and you give him a little goat hug. So Absolutely love this theory. Susie boss fight. I think there will be a Susie boss fight. I think it will happen in both the weird route and in the regular route. I think that there's going to be a huge conflict with Susie and it will result in like a kind of standoff. It's going to be awesome. There was a super cool fan art animation that I saw on YouTube the other day. I will link it. It is so awesome. I'm putting it up here. So good. I like was absolutely obsessed. That is absolutely going to happen. I think it's going to happen on both routes. Kind of a follow-up to that one, people have been kind of ideating like who is going to get Megalovania, you know, the song that plays, the iconic song everyone knows that plays during Sans' boss fight. There's been a lot of like parallels in the boss fights from previous Undertale characters, and I think if anyone gets it, I think it's going to be Susie, because that would be the most dramatic and the most like impactful use of it. It would really like call back to something. That being said, I don't see a parallel between Susie and Sans, so I'm gonna put this one on a maybe. I don't think, maybe Susie gets Megalovania, because usually the characters in the boss fights have some kind of thematic similarities, but yeah, I don't really know about that one. That one would be kind of tough. There'd have to be some developments there. Kris multiple possession theory. So everyone knows that Kris is possessed by the player. I'm gonna put this in the probably not. I had this thought like today. Who is Kris? Is Kris Chara? Is Kris Frisk? You know who else had a knife? The second child in Undertale with his toy knife. I had to research this to make sure I was right, because I was like, wasn't there another kid that had a knife? Yes! So I wrote down Kris is the second child, or the like spirit of patience. Blue, the spirit of patience, the second child is blue. I don't really know if Kris is the representation of patience. I'm gonna put maybe. Really like that theory though. That's an original, by the way. Came up with that one myself. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe it's probably already out there, but I don't know. I had that thought today. I wrote down no direct boss replays from Undertale. I've been seeing a lot of thoughts like we're gonna fight Asgore again. I think we're not going to fight Asgore again, and I think that goes for every Undertale character. I think they've had their spot. I don't think there's gonna be any repeats. I'm gonna put that in fact. I'm gonna talk about Gaster a little bit. I think Gaster 100% after being teased for 10 years shows up physically in some way. I mean, like, I don't know if that would remove the mystery, but he absolutely shows up. I mean, you could say he shows up and he's talking to us the entire time and like within like the UI. He has to show up. He has to show up. I'm gonna call it true. Lock that in. Follow up. If there is a Gaster experience, if Gaster shows up, he's actually going to be a boss fight, and his boss fight is going to mimic the all-knowing, super powerful Flowey the Flower. Gaster is going to have a boss fight that mimics or is a callback to Flowey the Flower, and I think you can make some comparisons about that. I'm gonna put this one in maybe. I'm like pretty convinced about that. This idea is completely crazy. Where are all the humans? Where are all the humans in this world? We go over why all the monsters are underground in Undertale because of some war. What happened? Did they lose? Are they just cool? Either the war is ongoing, the monster-human war is ongoing, or the monsters won, and as a result, Kris is some kind of like war refugee. A lot of weird psychological things going on. So I wrote down Kris is a war refugee, monsters won the war. But then maybe. Seems as likely as Rudy is the knight, right? Yeah. I just made this up today. Gaster is a human. He's like a melty skeleton human. The fact that there are humans and the fact that there are skeletons, you're just supposed to kind of ignore that. Gaster's a human. He's a weirdo. I don't know. I made this up. Gaster is a human. That's a twist. I'm gonna put it in the probably not. Y'all heard of Jockington theory? There is a line in the prophecy where it says, Jockington grows the beard. And I just like completely lost my mind laughing about that. But now that I'm thinking about it again, the phrasing grows the beard is weird. Why did they put it that way? In a Jockington theory video, which I watched says that grows the beard is like a term for getting more important. Apparently it's a Star Trek reference. So I'm gonna write down Jockington relevance, as in Jockington becomes more relevant. And this is absolutely true. No, I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe. Jockington becomes a central character in the plot. Where is Papyrus? Why hasn't Papyrus shown up? Is Papyrus the knight? No, I don't think so, but I do think that Papyrus 100% shows up, maybe kind of similar to the Azrael finale. Maybe he just kind of shows up as the end as kind of like a funny haha. That has to happen. I think that's true. Next question. I'm kind of trying to like answer all the mysteries that are in my mind currently throughout the story. One of those questions. Why did the Dreamer family get divorced? In Undertale, that reason is extremely dramatic and severe. He's killing kids! So it seems like it's gotta be something pretty big in order for Toriel and Asgore to divorce again in this like alternate timeline. I'm gonna say Asgore and Carol are a couple and that's why they're divorced. I'm gonna put that in the maybe. All his problems would be solved if Rudy dies. If Rudy dies, ooh, should I move this back up? Because I think Rudy is going to die. I'm gonna put it in the maybe. Because I also have on here Asgore redemption. People love Asgore. I think people really want him to get redeemed somehow, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna put it in the probably not. I do like Asgore. His boss fight in Undertale is so awesome. People have said, oh, maybe the knight is Kris's original soul. Maybe, you know, maybe. Probably not. I don't think so, but I wrote down the prediction. Some point in the game we meet Kris's original soul, and maybe it's blue, like the Patience child from Undertale. I'm gonna put that in the probably not. Probably not. I have no idea about this. I like really tried to come up with something interesting, but who is on the phone with Kris? I mean, it's Carol, right? Carol's on the phone with Kris. That is like pretty much 100%. People think that maybe there's someone else also on the phone with Kris, like other than Carol. I wrote down friend, device underscore friend. I don't know. Probably not, right? That doesn't make sense. He doesn't really seem to talk. My last few here have to do with the prophecy, or how the prophecy is going to end. I have a lot of thoughts about this. The end of chapter 4. Susie like breaks the prophecy and says, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen. And it's kind of implied that somebody dies. Somebody's going to die. Somebody is written as dead in the prophecy. Who is it? Is it Susie? Is Susie going to die? Don't you do that to me. Don't you do that to me. Susie dies in the prophecy. I was kind of going over this with my husband and he said, well, maybe it's a red herring. Maybe it's a red herring. Maybe Kris dies. Maybe Ralsei dies. Susie dies in the prophecy. I think that is going to happen. Kind of along with this, I have another kind of separate prediction about how Susie dies, specifically the weird route. So in the Gerson fight, there is an analogy to Susie being the dragon in the story of the Hammer of Justice and like how the game adaptation changes it. But Gerson says that he slays the dragon and she is the dragon and he's seen the prophecy. Who's gonna slay the dragon? My guess is that it's Noelle. I'm about to elaborate on that. Susie slain in the weird route. I think that goes within the prophecy. Susie dies. Fact. Lock that in. I'm scooting this over. Noelle. Noelle is going to kill Susie, and it is going to be unbelievably tragic. And I'll probably cry. And I wrote down that in the prophecy there's this weird line that's like really like ominous, where it goes, oh, and the girl. I imagine it like echoing and being really like dramatic because it's just that good of a game. The ambiance is like so, it's so perfect. You just know exactly what they're trying to do. Noelle is the girl, and it says love finds the girl, and love is the acronym level of violence, and that is part of the weird route. Prophecy prediction, Noelle is the girl, and love is level of violence. Another one, Undertale foreshadows this. You talk to Gerson, he tells you about the Deltarune prophecy in Undertale. And one of the things he says, oh yeah, and that thing up on top, that's the angel. Some of them think it's the angel of death. That's Noelle. Noelle is the angel of death. Especially in the weird route, but I think she's just the angel in general. But she could be an angel of death. I think that is true. There is a sword that combines the black shard and the thorn ring. People think it's for Kris. I think it's for Noelle. Noelle is going to slay the dragon. I don't know why. It's going to be so sad. People seem to think that Noelle doesn't fit the little silhouette picture of the girl in the prophecy. It looks a lot like Susie. It looks a lot like Susie. It seems a little bit ambiguous. The fact that she's holding a sword and not an axe, her iconic weapon, maybe she gets a sword later to like be more knight-like, I guess, but like, that's not Susie. Where's her axe? Maybe Noelle loses her horns or her antlers in order to like line up with the prophecy. And I think there could be like a lot of symbolism in that. Like, what does it mean for Noelle to lose her antlers? Her like sense of like agency and things like that, potentially. I'm gonna put that in maybe. Weird route ideas. Ralsei dies. Maybe. I'd like it to happen. Prophecy, Kris dies. Maybe Kris dies and that's why Susie is like, oh, we'll never let that happen. Something's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna let the protagonist die, but maybe that would be interesting. Maybe that'd add to the like narrative, the narrative conflict of you're controlling this person. Kris dies. I was racking my brain like up all night, like thinking about this. This is it. These are my Deltarune predictions. I'm locking it in. See if I'm wrong in 2026. I said it at the beginning of this video, but I absolutely am obsessed with Deltarune. I was a huge fan of Undertale. It's one of my absolute favorite games. Like I said, I've had this poster for a really long time. More proof. These are drawings from high school. I'm a veteran, okay? Look at this. Oh man, some of these I don't want to show. You'll know too much about me. Don't come for me. I'm sorry. Any Burger Pants fans out there, put these files back in the archives. I was there. I just really love the general tone and themes of Undertale. It was one of the most provocative games I've ever played. Still to this day remains one of my all-time favorite games, and I really wasn't sure if Deltarune was going to even be on the same tier or top it. It's a hard first act to beat. He really knocked it out of the park, but I'm really, really impressed with what I'm seeing for Deltarune. I haven't talked about it a lot here on my channel, but video games are a huge interest of mine. I'm interested in game development. I've worked on my own personal game project. I've talked about it a little bit here and there, but you know, video games are another interest of mine that I would like to kind of talk about more on my channel. So this is my first kind of jump into the topic as a standalone, so let me know if you like this sort of thing. I am absolutely obsessed. It just kind of gets my thoughts out. Plus it'll be fun to like revisit in 10 years when the game is done. I don't know. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. What predictions do you have? What do you think is going to come true? What are you hoping for? What do you like about this game? Put it in the comments.